I found in my Affinity Photo 2 journey that I really like trying out brushes to see what they can do. I just downloaded a batch of brushes that are really for Adobe Photoshop, but seem to be compatible for Affinity Photo 2. They're called smoke brushes and will give us a smoke type effect for the photo that I wanted to use in this video. Right now I have my new document window open, and I'm going to leave everything the way it is right now and just punch create new document. So now I have my document window open. Now the first thing I want to do is to put a gradient on this, but I can't do it on the document because you have to have a layer. And obviously there's nothing there, so you're going to have to do that. So I have to go up here and I am going to go to the rectangle tool and put a rectangle layer on this. And you'll see once I put the rectangle over it that a layer appears, my white layer, which is what I want. So now to put the gradient in there, I'm going to go over here and select the gradient tool. And the type of gradient that I want is called radial. So I'm going to select the radial, and I do want this type of coloration. I want a gray type of coloration because what I'm going for is to, in the end, to have the whole photo be lighter in the middle and darker on the end. So I can go in here, well, let me go in here and maybe have this be a little darker if I wanted, I guess. But I'm not sure I really want it to do that. I can move the slider. Let me get out of here. Move the slider, make it darker, make it lighter, or make it darker to condense the light place in the front. And this is where our photo is going to appear. At the end, you'll see that you're going to have darker edges on this side. So this is how we're going to do that. Let me see what happens if I make it a little bit darker. Well, come on. Okay, I'll make it a little bit darker. Somehow I lost my radial gradient. There we go. And, may not want that. Now maybe I do want that. I change my mind every time I go through this. I think I'm going to leave it right there and do it that way. And we want to make sure that our rectangle is covering everything up. Okay, now once I got through that, I need to bring in my image. And I'm not going to go File Place, but I'm going to go File Open. And the reason I'm going to do File Open instead of File Place is because I want this picture, this woman's picture that I'm going to get, her right here, to open in a separate tab. The reason I have it open in a separate tab is I need to do some work on it. Specifically, I need to get rid of the background. So I'm going to go over here and click this Hooters icon and wait for it to think about what it's going to do to the background. And once it's done thinking, I'll click on it and see how much it selects. And on this picture, I found it does a pretty good job. You know, the hair is the problem, but I want to get rid of that hand. I don't want the hand in there, so I'm going to go over and get the selection brush tool and make sure my appropriate thing is selected and get rid of her hand. So we'll do that. And we can get rid of that little piece right there. And let's go around to see if we can make any other adjustments. I'll come back over here because this really needs to be out a little bit. Okay, after I do that, then I will go up here and go to Select, Invert Pixel Selection. And the reason I'm doing that is that right now, what it's really doing is I've selected the background. Well, I don't want the background. I want her. So I have to invert the pixel selection. So invert pixel selection, and then go to Refine, and then we have her selected. Okay, now we've got a few little problems here. Hair is always a problem. I'm going to go ahead and try to fix it as best I can, but you're going to find in this particular exercise, it's not going to matter that much because I'm going to be altering her anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. I mean, you really should. Get as much out of this as possible. And so we will do that and go over that. Try to see how much of that we can get. We can always clean the rest of it up by using the lasso tool if we have to. But generally, I think it's done a pretty good job. Well, maybe I should go over this. And we will go down here, and for our selection, we're going to say, click New Layer, and then Apply. So once we apply that, this is the layer that we're going to be using. Now, there's some garbage here that we probably should get rid of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find my lasso tool right here, and then lasso these things around. I mean, this will be good practice, even though you're going to find out later on that it's really not going to matter that much. So we'll delete and escape, and then let's just lasso this out too. Part of that is hair, but it really doesn't matter. We'll just get rid of that. Delete and escape. And so we have that cleaned up pretty well. Okay, so come up here and do a selection, and then I want to copy this, so I'm going to right click and copy, and then I'm going to go over here to this, and I'm going to paste it on, and then move it to the center, or sort of center. It doesn't really matter. You'll find I'm going to be moving it around later on. Okay, now I need to give it an adjustment, a black and white adjustment specifically. So right here, our half moon is the adjustments, and we're going to go up to black and white adjustment and give her a black and white adjustment, and I'm going to darken that up a little bit. And I think that's good enough, so that's fine. Now, with her selected, this pixel layer, and before I forget about it, see up here you've got a black circle and this gray circle. We want this back to the default, the black and white default, because we're going to be painting with white. So I'm going to go ahead and press D, and now see how that turns back to white in the front and black in the back. We're going to need to always check and make sure that it's going to be like that. So now with her selected right here, we are going to go to the liquify persona and adjust our cursor and pull her out until we get a pretty good stretch on her. We're trying to make her look a little bit like the Bride of Frankenstein here. And so, pull all this out. We won't be getting this all the way to the edge. What we want to guard against is getting like holes in our pixels there. So we'll keep pulling this out, come down here, and all of this. So basically we're just stretching her. Now when you do this, make sure that you have a liquify push forward tool selected, or it's not going to turn out the way you want it to. Pull all that out. Looks really weird because she still has her fingers there. But I'm going to pull all this out, until we get to about the edge up here. Oops, we don't want to do that. Okay. So once we have this pulled out a good bit, and you're going to find how far you put out is going to pull this out is going to depend on how far your brushes are going to go out. Okay, so I think that this is probably going to be good enough. So once we get that done, we are going to select apply, and then we've gone back. When we select apply in that persona, it takes us back to our photo persona. If we clicked on the photo persona, it would have asked us, do you want to apply this? And your selections would be either to cancel it or say, yes, apply. Okay. Now what we need to do is to add a mask to her. So we have her selected. I want a mask. So I'm going to go down here to mask layer and add my mask. And our mask shows up as white. It always does. In this case, you want your mask to be black because you want her to be covered up, because what we're going to do is we're going to paint over her in white and reveal the mask and her underneath. So since this mask is white, what you need to do is go to Layer and Invert. And that will make our mask black and she will disappear. She really didn't disappear. She's actually under there somewhere. And she will appear once we get done. So now what we can paint, go up and make sure white is selected, and we're going to go over here and select our brush tool and click on our brushes tab. And we don't want basic, but what we want the smoke brushes, which are down here. I imported these from Adobe and they're compatible, as I said earlier in the video. So I'm going to be using these. This is the first project I've ever used these on. I mean, you know, I've done a few dry runs, but I always change my mind in the brushes I want to use every time I do this. So I'm just going to do whatever, pick a brush, and then, oops, make sure white is selected or you're not going to do anything. And this brush, you can make it smaller or larger, and we don't want this brush pointing in this direction. To make the brush point in a different direction, we can go up here and go more and see how this rotation is, and this illustration up here. If we pull the rotation slider, it will turn around. And now when we do that, you will find that our paintbrush is going in the direction we want. And so I'm going to put one there and maybe one there. I'm going to sample each one for no apparent reason, just because. So here we have another one. And notice how that's pointing up and down. We don't want that. We want it to be pointing out. So now we can do that. And let's see what the next one looks like. Whoops, made it a little bit too small. I think I may use that one. And I'll go up to more and turn it to where it's like that, close. And if you don't like the way it's turned, I mean, you can always, go back and fix it. And I'll put this one down here. You don't want to over brush. I tend to do that. But of course, how much you brush over your image is going to depend. You'll find that the image starts to appear. See, there she is. She's under there. I wasn't lying. So let's go up here and turn it. So most of our brush strokes are going to go out. That's sort of big. And we can do that. And let's see if I can find one that's more curly. Well, maybe I'll use this one. It's not curly, but... So I'll turn that around so that it's pointing out in the right direction. This is going out. And let's look for my curly one. What I should have done is written these down, but I didn't. And turn this around a little. So it's going to be going out in this direction. And let's see what we have down here. What's that one look like? I think I'm going to go with this straight one. Turn that around. Go like that. And do that. And I think that's where I'm going to wrap this up. Now, we need to find our woman. So we need to go back up and click on Basic. Because what I want here is I want a basic round soft brush like this one. And I'm going to, this one is a little small. Go over here, and what we want to do is we want to find her, see where her nose is. So we want to click around and expose as much of her as you want. Because basically it's going to have that look of, part of her face is going to be exposed, and then the rest of it is going to be smoke. So let's see if we can maybe expose parts of her neck like that. And then we can see if we need to give any more smoke things. And I think that's all of her I'm going to expose. And then I'm going to go back and go to my smoke brushes again and go down here and see if I can put some more smoke off her face. Turn that around so the smoke's going in the right direction, and we can have some smoke there. I don't want to leave a lot of empty spots. What's this one look like? Oh, this one is twirly. So I might try this twirly one. And close. And I don't like that one. I changed my mind. Let's see what this one looks like. That last one I put out had that sharp edge on it that I really did not care for. So let's just smoke her up down here a little bit. And maybe, I think that's going to be good enough. I think I'm probably overdoing this a bit. Let's see what that looks like. I don't like that. So if you don't like something, instead of going up to Edit, Undo, you can always go Control Z, and that will get rid of that. I think I'm going to leave it like that. I don't want to really get to the point where it's too overdone. So now we're done with that. So we can get out of there, go back to our layers, and so now we've got our pixel layer with our mask, and the black and white adjustment, and the rectangle, which you see on the bottom. I am going to go ahead and move the black and white adjustment down into this layer so that they are all grouped together. And I think I'm going to take her, and whoops, I don't want to do that. I want to move her take her and move her about there. And now what we're going to do is we are going to add a pixel layer. So make sure that your woman is selected because we want our pixel layer to go on the top. And add a pixel layer, and on this pixel layer we are going to go down and hunt down our rectangle tool again, which is in here, and pull a rectangle over this, and then we're going to fill it. So we're going to go up here and we're just going to pick one of these. This isn't going to be my final color. I'm just going to like buzz around in there a little bit. So we pick our color, and let's make the color a little bit softer. So we have that. And so we can see her through this, we need to adjust the opacity until she appears. Okay, so what you're going to have underneath is you're going to have her down here, and the layer, this rectangle layer down here, is going to be like bright in the middle, and I probably need to move her around more so that she's, well, come on, select the right one. Well, maybe it won't let me move it. I'm going to move her around to where she's more centered right here where this bright place is. Then I'm going to turn on that a little bit, and then all you have to do is to adjust this around until you get the color you want. What I do in this drop down is I pick HSL because I can make better adjustments by doing that, using the HSL part of it. So let me see. So it can look like that. So if you like your blues, you can do that. This rectangle is off center. And if you want your opacity to be a little bit lighter, you can do that. When the opacity is lighter, you can see our grays are going through there a little bit better. And adjust our colors. Let's turn the opacity back up. So the key to this is to get your opacity and your HL sliders to the point where you can actually see like a mild bright halo around her face, and it should be dark on the edges. You don't want it to be so dark on the edges to where it's like sticking out there. Now if you don't like blue, we can always try pink, because why not? I mean, so we can adjust this, or sliders, to make it a little bit lighter. Like that. Pink was not my favorite one. Actually, I kind of like this because it's more to the violet. So let's go down here and let's pick a violet and see what happens. Okay, when it's violet, it looks like that. Then we can go down here and maybe just give it kind of a violet feeling tone. And adjust our opacity, making sure that we don't get rid of too much of that color. But the way I like it the best is just tint it enough to where it's going to look like that. Okay, now something else I tried is overlay. We want to go down and see what our choices are for our blending modes. And if you go down here to overlay, then you can overlay this, with our pixel layer. So now we've got an overlay effect, and with the overlay, that light, or that lighter part in the middle, really does come out a little bit better. Here's how you can make your images and make them really smoking. See what I did there? Give this a try. I got these smoke brushes from Freepik. Not everything is free on their site, but these were. I'll put the web address in the video description. I'll also post this image on my Buy Me a Coffee page, where you can see my posts, gallery editions, and you can support my channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to keep up to date on my future videos.